Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is the Survivor's Guide to Life. My name is Jessica Lang and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, here to talk to you about all things the brain, trauma, attachment, and healing. So if that's your jam, click that subscribe button down below and ring the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So first I want to say sorry I've been gone. It's been maybe a month, 2 months since I've uploaded a new video. Things have just been really crazy. Last weekend I presented at the Diversity in Parenting Conference that was held by Mercedes Zamudio, who does Shame-Proof Parenting. I'll link her information down below. She has a YouTube channel. She's got a book. It just went out on, she just did the audio version of it. So I think you can get it on Audible. So I'll put that information down below. I went out on a limb and took a risk, which, I think we should all take risks, despite my desire to never ever want to public speak, and I absolutely hate public speaking. The topic of child sexual abuse is just so important that I pushed through it and I presented at the conference. But that was part of why I was gone for so long, because I was preparing for that while also working and seeing clients and making sure I'm doing right by them. And I also just was kind of in a creative funk and didn't really know what I wanted to post and what I wanted to do. So that was kind of why I've been gone. So I'm hoping to get back to a regular schedule and start uploading weekly again, because I enjoyed doing that before. So today's video is inspired by my presentation at the Diversity in Parenting Conference. I just want to take the time to talk to parents and also providers who do this work and give you guys some tools that you can use if you have a survivor of child sexual abuse, things that you can do to help your little survivor heal. So phase 1 is to heal the attachment relationship and recreate safety. So oftentimes when survivors, oftentimes the abuser, the perpetrator, is somebody that is close to the child. A family member, a close family friend. Very rarely is it a stranger who first does the sexual abusing of the child. It's somebody who's been in the home. And so there's a rupture, obviously, of trust and a feeling of unsafety within the home. And so what you want to do as the parent, and if you're the provider, help, working with the parent on recreating safety and trust. That means you're going to have to do things differently. This is really hard for parents because oftentimes the child has certain behaviors that are very difficult. Sometimes they are a result of the abuse that was happening. Sometimes they have co-occurring mental health disorders like ADHD or things like that. And other times, most often the time, it's the parent's own insecure attachment style that's coming into play, that's keeping them from being connected to their child. And so when you have that dynamic going on, oftentimes parents distance themselves from their child, and what the child needs is connection. So you're going to have to help the parent kind of go through their own support. Maybe they need a therapist. Maybe part of your work, and I do this with parents, part of that work is helping them kind of identify what their own needs are, what happens when their child gets close to them, helping them kind of manage that and do better, because their child is going to need them. Recreating safety can be so simple as, maybe changing bedrooms if the abuse happened in the bedroom, changing the child's sheets, maybe repainting the room, like doing something with the room to make it feel different, help the child make the room feel like a safe place. Most of us, our favorite place in our homes is the bedroom, right? We got our beds, we got our books, we got TV, whatever. It's kind of our sanctuary. And if you've been violated in your bedroom, then that place no longer feels safe. That's no longer your sanctuary. So how having the parent, and that can also be part of the attachment, rebuilding that relationship by having the parent and the child go together and redecorate the room and focus on, making the room safe again. Maybe add essential oils, maybe add candles, maybe, open up spaces so things don't look scary, making sure the room is clean. Parents kill me with this one. They complain that their child's room is dirty, and I tell them all the time to clean it, and then I go into the parents' room and the parents' room is messy. It's like, your room, first off, how are you going to tell somebody to clean their room when your room is a mess? That's poor modeling. Number 2, They might not know how, or they might get distracted. They might need your support. So you can also make cleaning up your child's room a building, connection building activity. But if you teach kids when they're little how to clean up after themselves, it becomes a habit. I used to when I lived in Israel, I worked in nursery school, and I worked with 1-year-olds. And, we'd have the toys out, and we would sing the cleanup song. Clean up, right? It's not so hard. When they're 1 year old, you make it a song, you make it a game. They start cleaning up because you're cleaning up. And it got to a point where I would just start singing the song and they would start cleaning up, right? And now it's just like a couple months of us doing that work together. Mind you, like they had never been and gone before, or nursery school. Sorry, I'm speaking Hebrew. So it's like you start that work early and it becomes a lifelong habit. So you might have to, like I said, do things over. Yes, your child might be 8 or 10 or 12 and should know how to clean their room, but they might not know how. They might be distracted. There might be things in their room that are unsettling. There's a million reasons why a child's room is messy. But if you go in there, take the time to clean the room with them, you can put music on, make it fun, make it engaging. You're working in that dynamic on two folds of rebuilding that attachment relationship and helping them get a new skill. And then you can also, there's things you can do to incentivize a child to keep their room clean. But it also starts with you keeping your room and your home clean. So that's just a little side note that I wanted to throw out that parents listening to this might not like me saying, but it is what it is. Another tip I have, recreating safety, especially around bedtime, creating a routine, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever that is. First off, bedtime should be the same time every night. Even if it's the weekend, you should encourage the child to go to sleep at the same time. That's just to help decrease general anxiety. We all like routine. We all like predictability. Kids are no different. You have a bedtime about an hour before. Start doing things that calm the body down, right? Maybe a bath, maybe a shower. No foods that are super sweet or sugary, or salty or sodas or anything like that. Maybe they can have veggies or some like soup. I'm somebody who loves the heat. I love when it's hot. So like warm soup might do it, warm milk, whatever. Not a whole lot so they don't have to get up and go pee every, 10 minutes, but create a ritual around bedtime that's positive. That's not like a punishment, but something that's positive that kind of winds the body down. Maybe do something together. Read a book, listen to soft music, play a quiet game. They can watch TV as long as it's not like shoot 'em up, action-packed games. I would avoid video games just because they kind of amp you up, and also limit screen time, like iPads and phones and things like that. 30 minutes to an hour before bed. Again, you want to calm the body down. Then you walk to you put your child to bed, have the ritual that whatever. Whether that's reading a story, prayers, whatever is part of your family dynamic, you do that every night. Your child might come out of bed. They might get up. Mommy, I'm hungry. Mommy, I have to pee. Dad, I have to pee. Whatever it is. Get up, walk them back. This is the time though, like a lot of parents get frustrated. Oh, just go to bed, like blah, blah, blah. They shoo them away. But they might be afraid to go to bed. And so again, you're not talking about a child who's typically developed or doesn't have trauma. They might have negative associations with bedtime, with going to bed. So you being dismissive, and they don't know how, or they might not even realize that they're afraid to go to bed, that they've had nightmares, or that it's fear that's driving them. So you have to name that for them. I understand you're really scared, bad things happened at night. Like you name it, you say what it is, and then you say something like, but it's safe, that person's not here anymore, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, whoever's in the home, we're here for you, like, we won't let anything bad happen to you, and comfort them, walk them back to bed, give them a kiss or hug, tell them you love them, and you might have to do that a couple times, till they go to bed, but helping them understand that that's what's happening in that moment, is that they're afraid. So you see that with younger kids, usually making the excuses. Sometimes they can say they're afraid. Don't minimize that. Help them get back to bed. A teen most likely won't say I'm afraid to go to bed, or won't come out of the room and say, oh, I have to pee. They'll just, you might hear them. So I would encourage you to take their phone and keep the phone with you, just because they'll be on their phone all night. because they're afraid to go to sleep. So they need something else. Maybe they need a nightlight, which sounds like a baby thing, but you know, maybe they want the door open. I mean, there's little things, but I would say take no phone, because the phone will be used as a crutch to keep them awake. And that's not good for their sleep. And they might not even know that they're afraid to go to sleep. They're just on their phone all anxious all night, and then they're tired. So maybe having a routine or something in your family, like no screen time or no phones at bed or whatever. But you want to do something similar with your teen. Not obviously, you're not going to walk them back to their bed, but you know, figure out what's calming for them, what's soothing for them, what helps them feel good and safe in their body as they get ready to go to bed, and remind them that they can do that. And you know, might sound silly, but teens actually kind of like this. I mean, they wouldn't really necessarily admit it, but you know, that there's that child in them that's afraid that had the abuse happen to them. So just, you know, I'm gonna come check on you in 20 minutes. You know, is there anything you want to talk about? Or, you know, like open up the space so that you can be there for them. If they want a little snuggie toy, let them have it. Anything, even if you think that's a baby thing, let them have whatever they need to help them go to sleep. And normalize that as like, of course you're afraid, like this bad thing happened. It makes sense. It's normal to be afraid. Let's figure out things that will help you feel better. You don't want to shame them. You want them to feel good. You want them to feel safe. You want them to feel loved, and you want them to feel nurtured. All things that were missing, and have been lacking since they were abused. So those are just, that ended up being longer than I thought it would be. For some phase 1 kind of things that you can do. I also encourage parents to, if they, like I said before, it doesn't matter if the house is big, small, whatever, keep the noise down. You might be in your bedroom or in the living room watching some crazy movie. I like action-packed shows. I go to bed watching Criminal Minds. I'm weird. But that can be tricky. That's triggering for other people. So if if I have somebody in the next room who's experiencing type of trauma, I'm not going to be, blasting Criminal Minds really loud while they're trying to sleep, because why? Right? That doesn't make sense. You want to think about it from that perspective. So maybe you can watch whatever you want to watch on your computer with your headphones. Maybe you don't watch it at that time. If you want to watch TV, like keep it lower. Just things like that. Like just taking into account that you have somebody who's experienced a trauma and is trying to go to bed and needs to feel safe in their body and safe in their home. And that every little sound is dysregulating towards them, and they'll be sensitized towards that, and the brain is not going to go through the time to go, like, that's TV show that my dad's watching. No, it's just gonna hear it and react and respond, and the child's not gonna be able to go to bed. So making the household calm if possible. I know I like to hang out with my friends and be loud and rowdy, but maybe not have your adult friends over drinking, smoking, partying 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night when you're trying to make your child go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to think about these types of things when you are trying to recreate safety in your home. It's not going to last forever, but you do need to do things differently and take into account that you have a survivor who is easily triggered, and that at this particular moment, their needs are going to come above your needs. Phase 2, we work on creating and improving like self-regulatory capacities. So we are all born with a stress response system. We are all born with a certain type of physiology. Some of us need more stimulation or more input to kind of get us going. Other people like it, low. It just kind of depends, right? But you want to stay kind of in that optimal level of arousal, not too high, not too low. And children, toddlers, they don't have the ability to calm themselves down fully. They need you to help them when they're getting too amped up to kind of redirect that, be that cortex. All right, I have a friend. She's so funny. If you're on my Instagram, you see me with her baby all the time because Willow's the cutest baby ever. There she is. She's so cute. I love baby Willow. That's my girl. But anyway, her mom is hilarious because her kids are amazing. But her son, we were at a baby shower and her son was like, I don't know, he was just playing in the box, being silly, whatever. But she was like, I love you, but you're not being yourself right now. We just busted out laughing, and he stopped what he was doing. He was just having fun, getting caught up in the moment. And here she is being his little cortex and being like, okay, yo, I get it. You're having a good time, but I need you to stop. I love you, but you're doing too much right now. And she said it in such a loving and playful way, and he, you know, he was fine. But that's kind of our job, right? That's our job as therapists. That's our job as parents. Like, we have to be that cortex until the child, you know, becomes old enough to be like, oh, I'm getting a little bit amped up. I need to calm down, right? Being able to pump the brakes on their own. So they need us with that guidance. And when you have a trauma survivor, it's a very similar thing. They don't know how to ground themselves. They hear that sound, they smell that smell. Their brain has been wired for threat, and it's like, oh, it's happening again. It starts freaking out. It starts doing its, you know, going into its automatic self-protection mode. And so it needs you to be like, no, you're okay. You're safe. Let's breathe together. Let's go for a walk. It's okay that, you know, you're not hurt. This is not that incident. This is a different incident, right? Like, you need to be that person for the child, for your teen, for your toddler, until they're able to do it on their own. Because, right? So part of the healing is to replace those trauma associations with different ones, right? With more positive or more neutral expressions, and not gotta jump automatically into self-protection mode. So figuring out kind of what the person's triggers are and what they predominantly do when they're in that mode. So for a lot of younger folks, dissociation, especially with sexual abuse, dissociation is paramount. So that's that freeze response. So if you're with your child and, you know, suddenly you see them kind of freeze, that's when you're okay, I'm here. Maybe call their name, you know, identify who you are. I'm Jessica, you're okay, you're safe, you're here in my office. And when you start to see the eyes move and you see them kind of coming back online, encourage them to breathe, feel your feet on the ground, you know, I always talk about the 5 senses grounding exercises. Name 5 things you can see, you know, 4 things you can smell, like all of that kind of stuff. You do that with them till they get grounded. And you just practice that with them so that they learn to kind of internalize and recognize, oh, this right here is a trigger for me, and how to bring themselves out of it. But it's going to take some time and some practice. So that's what we do with therapy. We teach the parents how to do things like that too. And it all takes time, you know, but it's worth it. Phase 3 is probably the hardest part because it is processing and creating a narrative. So folks who survive trauma, you know, they do want to talk about, there comes a point where they will want to talk about what happened and try to make sense about it and try to create a narrative and a story, a sense of cohesion about what they've experienced. And so this is when you want to make sure they have enough of those tools and that they can, for the most part, self-regulate, because if they're starting to process or they're starting to talk about things, you don't want them to slip into a trauma reaction. And if they do, you want to help bring them out of it. And letting them go at their own pace. But also, if you start to notice before they notice that they're getting into a trauma reaction, being their cortex and stopping them and saying, I understand you want to, you know, talk about this, but you're becoming dysregulated, and help them notice that so that they can learn their own boundaries also, because they don't have to tell their story. They don't have to share it with everybody. But they also need to learn kind of what their capacity is and how to express that to other people. So that's part of this process also of what you want to do. And finally, kind of what I call integration. And that's just a culmination of everything that I just talked about in the first 3 phases. You want the person to be able to self-regulate for the most part on their own. You want them to be able to kind of process or tell their story when they want to, while staying grounded, and setting boundaries, and then you want them to feel safe within their body and then safe within their home again. And so being able to articulate what their needs are, articulate what their wants are, all of that is part of this whole process of healing. And so those are just kind of my 4 tips, or the 4 phases of treatment as I see it when I work with child sexual abuse survivors. Okay, so that's all I have for today's video. I just have to add, I think it's so comical that my battery started to die on my camera, and I had to rush through the last bit in my conference, in my presentation. I felt so horrible because I had so much at the beginning. I didn't get to the end, so they were like, you have 15 minutes, you have 5 minutes. I was like, oh crap. So I'm rushing through and I was like, this sounds so terrible. And so I just thought it was really fun that as I was talking about this, the battery started dying. I was like, gotta rush, gotta go through it again. So that's kind of my life, just being long-winded and running out of time. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. If you found this video helpful, check out some more here in my playlist. Again, this channel, I like to talk about trauma, I like to talk about attachment, I like to talk about healing. I think it's all very important information that just everyone should know about. You can also find me on social media. I have been missing on there too, but I'm back posting regularly. So you can take a look at my Instagram. There, I pictures, quotes, self-help type things. People find useful, people like them, so go ahead and follow me there. And I also have a Facebook group. It is a community filled with some of the people there are therapists, but mostly it's for other survivors. And I just like to try to create a space. I have not been active in it, FYI, but I'm trying to be more active in it. But you can join the group and post your questions there. Try to create dialogue. My goal for that is just to have community and a place for people to kind of talk and express themselves and feel safe and feel heard and feel validated and normalized. So you can go ahead and join that group as well. With that, I will see y'all in the next video.